other guys like your Aaron Judges, guys like your Mike Trouts, guys like your Juan Sotos, filling in behind it, because that's what you're trying to get when you run those stats.
I just love the Orioles. So, after tonight, let's assume, may we, that the Orioles hang on. I know I'm jumping the gun talking about the Orioles, but that would make the Phillies 5-7. 5-7 is a losing record last I checked. Are you concerned about the Phillies in reality, first of all, Chaplain?
I don't know if concerned is the right word. I don't know that the Phillies are that good. I've never been a big Nola fan. Outside of, I do like Spencer Howard, but outside of that, I just don't trust the rest of that staff. Sure, they can hit the ball, but I wonder about, when it comes down to it, how good of a complete team they really are. The thing that they have going for them, Arnie, who's running away with that division?
No one.
Exactly. So you're looking at a Braves team that probably has the most talent. The defending National World Series champions, who are right there with them, may have more talent than Atlanta, but they're not as deep in the farm system anyway. But neither of those teams are living up to expectations at this point. So Philly's got as good a chance as anybody, up to and including the Marlins, Arnie. I know that sounds nuts.
Another team I had written off before the season started, along with the Orioles, but Chappie, they got a chance. Here's the thing. Washington's 5-7 coming into tonight. They're leading the Mets 2-1. The Phillies are going to go to 5-8 after tonight. Listen to these averages, Chappie. McCutchen, your leadoff hitter. He's hitting a robust 147. Hoskins, your second hitter, hitting even stronger than that at 171. Let's continue along the progression. Gene Segura, your third baseman, former leadoff hitter, is whopping it at 176. Lenny's boy, Scott Kingery, is at a paltry 105. Jay Bruce is hitting 226. That's kind of what we expect out of Jay Bruce.
Yeah.
I've just given you 4 hitters that play every day whose highest batting average is 176. No wonder the Phillies have a losing record.
Well, and if they're in a division where they have, if they're in the Central, if they're in the West, they're out of it. They're
right.
Out. But they're afforded the luxury of being in a division where no one wants it. So, in its own weird way, it's shaping up to be a really good race between those 3 teams.
Miami.
Who can get their crap together, right?
Yeah, they're all even the Mets, first to last, they're all within 3.5 games of each other entering tonight.
And none of them are any good, Arn.
They all suck.
Yeah.
And look, the Braves, decimated by injury, no doubt. But it's part of the game in 2020.
Yeah.
The Phillies can't hit, and you've touched on it. I'm not really feeling great about their pitching either. The Nats haven't done a great job of either so far. I heard Lenny say this morning, their game last night, they scored 31% of their runs on the season in the game that they played last night. And tonight they're killing it again, scoring 2 runs against the Mets. And one of those came as a leadoff home run from your boy. So there's just not a team, and the Mets are just a mess. I mean, when will we ever stop drinking the Kool-Aid and let's just admit that the Mets will screw up whatever is put before them? They seem to find a way, don't they, Chappie? If it's not internal, it's external. I mean, you go from losing 2 star pitchers. I got it. Now your 4th starter opts out.
Right.
So whether it's injury or opts out, they've lost their pitching staff except for DeGrom. And frankly, what they've got to fill in is just fodder.
Peterson's a good pitcher.
He is. They've hit some gold there. The bullpen has been awful, inconsistent. Maybe is a better word.
Matz is inconsistent.
Matz is horrible.
Yeah. He'll be good for an inning, and then he'll give up 8 runs.
Their best hitter is on the IL, Cano, and Rosario has forgotten how to play.
Hold on. Let me stop you. Their best hitter's at first base.
Well, average-wise.
I'm sorry, Pete Alonso's their best player. That's the guy, and they really need to get behind. Now, I like J.D. Davis. I like his approach. I like what he brings to the plate. I like Jeff McNeil. I really like this Jimenez kid.
Playing great, isn't he?
I mean, he's just a spark plug. So even there, it's not all bad. But I totally agree. They've kind of shot themselves in the foot. You look at, I don't know, one of the shows, Simeon Richardson and Anthony Kay letting both of those guys go. They could use both of those guys right now in their rotation for a guy that opted out.
Right.
And they're going to lose free agency.
No doubt.
They gave those guys away for nothing.
They're a mess, the Mets. They should be the New York Mets, not the New York Mets. Change the T for an S. I think you'd have it. It's every year is something with that crowd. Look, you're right. Let me go back. Their first baseman is their best player, but so far this year, until he got hurt, Cano was their best hitter. And he's 37 years old.
Yeah.
Look, Conforto's a star in the making.
Yes.
Alonso and Conforto are the cornerstones on that team.
And J.D. Davis is there too, Arnie.
Put those 3. Let the young kid who came up, let him play.
Yep.
Build around that.
What happens to Rosario when Dubon comes up?
He's gone.
I think he moves the outfield.
I think he loses confidence, and I wonder if next year he's even starting for the Mets. I think it's such a mind game with that kid.
Yeah.
Take him. He can be really, really good. And like the girl with the curl, he can be really, really bad. And he's in one of those bad funks. And you talked earlier about the manager for the Cubs. And I just wonder if the Mets could ever find that right manager. Maybe they had it before Beltran screwed up. Okay? We all screw up, right? I think they had their manager in Carlos Beltran. I think he could have brought out the best in these young players, and I think the Mets could have turned the corner. And then what happened with Beltran happened with Beltran. But I tell you what, if these other guys who were involved, like Joey Cora and so on, are given another chance, why can't Beltran be given that chance back with the Mets? I think it's their best chance to contend and contend quick.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some work to do in the minor league system. I mean, that's for sure. They've depleted a lot of their pitching prospects. But, you get, like you say, you got to like their cornerstone, their bedrocks, those 3 players. I really do believe with Dubon coming up, the pitching staff is still relatively young. Pitchers age a little bit later. So I like with the Mets. The Mets should be an easy turnaround, given to the right hands.
I want to ask you a question. We know what's going on in St. Louis. Help me out here. I'm playing the role of casual baseball fan. And I've been reading articles as a casual fan, out of interest, intrigue. I've watched some games. I've kind of got this feeling for the Marlins because, all of these players I read about being or coming down with corona, and they had to go out and pick up players off the free agent market, off the waiver market, just to field a team. Kind of made me have these warm fuzzy for the Marlins. I'm just a casual fan, remind you, Chappie. But They played games. They were back on the field within a week.
Right.
Why can't the Cardinals do that? I'm a casual fan. Help me with that one.
Well, I mean, at least for me, and again, the toughest part is how these testings are rolling in, right? So the expediency of the timing of the testing, you might get one today and another tomorrow, and then you might get 4, and then you might get 6, and the next thing you know, you're out indefinitely. And all of those guys have to come back up for you to be able to field that team. These guys have to quarantine. It's just, I mean, it's a convoluted mess for sure. But the fact is, the Cardinals are really in a precarious position because when they come back up, they're going to be playing double headers pretty much
every day.
Time. Yeah, I mean, so they got to make up 15 games, which isn't going to be easy for them. And then you throw on the difficulty there is the pitching, right? And St. Louis is in a good position because they've got some pitching depth that they can kind of mask that a little bit. But it's still going to be tough for them because when you're playing 3 doubleheaders in a row, that's a full week's worth of pitchers in 3 days. It's going to be tough to recover from that, and it's going to be tough to manage that. So, it's really going to be interesting to see how that takes place and how that shakes down. And then you throw in the fact that, the wear and tear that it takes on your players and your catchers and your coaches. You're going to have to bring, Yadi Molina's, 38 years old. So you're going to have to bring another catcher up just to kind of cover the fact that he's aged a bit. I mean, it's a lot of there's a lot of shift in thought there.
So with Jack Flaherty, fantasy pitching darling, probably picked, could be a first-round draft pick in a deep league, certainly a second-round pick this year. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Cy Young candidate, probably before the season started, you would say Flaherty clearly one of the best 5 starting pitchers in the National League, correct?
Yep.
What does we know? Well, let me rephrase that. We know that pitching and baseball in general is about routine, is about timing, creatures of habit. You get where I'm going.
Yeah.
They haven't played a game since July 29th. Not one game. Are you fearful for Flaherty's health, shoulder, arm, elbow, legs, whatever, with the time that is left, trying to do too much, too soon, and too often? Or are you not? And do you think this doubleheader stuff might benefit a Jack Flaherty? Because remember, a complete game is only 7 innings.
That's a really interesting question.
Hey, I give you the good ones and the tough ones, right? That's what makes this show the best one. This is the best show on fantasy sports. You got it. So tell me what you think about that.
Well, I think that if it were me, I always love starting that. If it were me, that'd be the one guy that I'd be protecting. So, like I said, St. Louis is blessed with some good depth. They're blessed with some good young arms down on the farm, and they're able to kind of work around that, right? Were I the coach, I would have, as soon as this all went down, I would have Jack Flaherty will be my sole focus, and I would be doing everything in my power to make sure that he stayed on as close to a routine as you can have in a situation like that. He'd be going out every 5th day, and he'd be pitching his 70, 80 pitches in a simulated game. I would want to keep him on his rotation. Now, aside from that, you look at the rest of that rotation. You're talking about Adam Wainwright. He's been around for 82 years. You're talking about Dakota Hudson. Not the most prized possession in the world. Definitely a serviceable pitcher, but someone who, was used in relief some last year. Is certainly used to being flexible, right? You got Kwon Young Kim. We all know that he was going to be the closer before all this went down. You got guys like Carlos Martinez, Ponce de Leon.